Hi, everybody. It's the show with Ron again, and we've got some more news, media amping things up. So we got to look at it to see if we can add any context or commentary, understand what might be going on, what might happen. So, first, we got the headlines, the exciting headlines. Iran revenge warning, etc., etc. This is where supposedly and almost certainly Israel struck a diplomatic compound in Damascus to knock out supposedly an Iranian general who was there. This is this has a lot of precedence because Israel has been doing this sort of thing for many, many, many decades. Anytime when Iran has been maybe preparing nukes, they've struck right in Iran. And they'll hit anybody anywhere in the world. So the one truism is you don't mess with the Mossad, the Israeli secret police. They will go anywhere to protect their interests, much like the U.S. And the Israeli government has done a lot of heavy lifting for the U.S. and taken a lot of crap for doing things that actually benefit the United States ultimately. So they went in, I don't think they've admitted it yet, and had this strike. So we have revenge warning, preparing strikes, World War III fear soars, protests against Israel, blah, blah, blah. So is Iran going to get really mad? Like before, they kind of hated Israel, but now they really do. Like before, they had Hamas take all those hostages, and they had the Houthis try to close down the Red Sea shipping lanes, and they were trying to get Hamas in southern Lebanon to widen the war. That was just kind of hatred, but now they really hate them. Well, the reality is that hatred doesn't grow that much greater after this strike that took out the general. I don't think because it can't literally become any more hatred. Iran does everything they can to destroy Israel. However, in this case, I think I see Iran as being very savvy when it comes to what they're trying to do to disadvantage other countries. So right now we have a situation where most of the whole world is opposing the way Israel is conducting their attacks into Gaza. And this situation is probably greater than Iran could have ever wished for, because Israel has seen the way the United States has conducted its wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and even 30 years ago in Iran, and the strikes that they not Iran, in Iraq, and the strikes that when Saddam Hussein was in power, the strikes they tried to hit him after that. Everybody really concentrates on, oh, are you killing civilians? Are you killing innocent people? And Israel seems to have conducted their operations in Gaza this time, disregarding public opinion about that. And we know wars, especially big, powerful countries against weaker enemies, are not really won or lost on the battlefield. They're won in the court of public opinion at home. The United States knows that very well in the Vietnam War. The American public just wasn't willing to put up with the way the war was being conducted, and we see that happening right now worldwide in vis-a-vis the war in Israel and Gaza. So while we do have this news and fears about Iran now getting really upset and really trying to do terrorist activities where I guess they weren't that motivated in the past, now they're going to try to take revenge. See, I would think Iran would be very smart about that, as they have been in the past, and they don't want to make a situation where it looks like it's just two sides fighting a war. They want to make it look like they want things to remain the way they are now, where it looks like a very powerful Israel that is being supported by the West is attacking poor, weaker countries and, attacking diplomatic missions and this sort of thing. Iran doesn't want to make it look like there's a huge open battle. And I see even, nutty people on Facebook saying, biblical prophecy that Russia and Iran is about to attack Israel. See, that would mess up the win that Iran is having right now, in the way that they've even been able to pressure the Biden administration, the United States government, to back off their unqualified support of Israel's military actions. Really unusual situation. So make no mistake, even before this, Iran is out to destroy Israel. So this doesn't make them a little bit more, or I don't think it would raise the danger. And I think you would suspect that Iran would be very careful to maintain the status quo and make it look like that that Israel is a bully. Say if there was some big terror attack in the UK or the United States that could be pointed back to Iran, that would change the equation, and the support for Israel and the necessity for Israel getting terrorists out of the Middle East or standing up in that area, that would change. So I would, while certainly this is always a danger point in escalation, I think that that Iran would be very careful not to heedlessly expand the military operations to give Israel any kind of opportunity to be supported by the public, or for foreign governments to say, "See, we need to support Israel's actions after all." Okay. Politics stuff, more stuff about Donald Trump in legal trouble. Now remember, it's just a coincidence that it's happening right now in the year in the lead up to the election. Could have happened in a lot of other years before this, but it's happening now. It's a coincidence. Tesla in trouble. I think we always, if you would take a God's eye view of all the headlines over the past, I don't know how long Tesla's been around, 10 years or so, you would, at any one time, maybe every couple of years, there would be this flurry that Tesla's in trouble and going down the drain. Never has yet. So what else do we have here? A million simulations, one verdict for the U.S. economy, debt danger ahead. So, the U.S. federal government debt, almost 116% of GDP by 2034. And I've gone through this ad nauseum many times before. The situation was the end of the 90s. One of the greatest presidents, dare I say it, Bill Clinton. He was like the best Republican president because he did everything the Republicans said they were going to do. So one of the things he did, maybe the most momentous, balanced the budget. And then the national debt was, I don't know, in the hundreds of millions of dollars, 600 million, something. The national debt, that is. Since then, it has grown from that to over $34 trillion in national debt. And I believe that the debt is rising by about $1 trillion every 100 days. And this has been the fault of all the presidents. George W. Bush was the person who started this spending. And then President Obama continued it. And Donald Trump continued it, and certainly Biden is continuing it. And it seems to all be the underlying reason is to try to prevent economic shocks and recessions to the populace, as opposed to presidents having to endure recessions. They've just decided not to. They've decided to make money cheap and inflate the money supply. And as we see, and in late last year, on this channel, we talked a lot about when people in Congress try to put some limits on the budget, the press, the media, the U.S. media, all in one voice, all the major organs, tell people that those Congress people who are trying to cut the deficit, cut the debt, are crazy, right-wing radicals, maybe even fascists in some cases. So even people who say anything about this have been demonized by the press. And I know in some of those cases, some of those Congress people are playing games, as Congress does. You know, they want to hold up approving budgets based on other, unless the rest of the Congress accedes to other of their concerns, allows crazy, maybe abortion laws to pass or something. But the reality is that all the mainstream Republicans and Democrats have been very happy to spend. And there's never been a currency in human history that has not gone down and failed because of the people in power inflating it away. And this is what we're seeing in the United States, a great danger. And this story talks about what it could take. There'll have to be some sort of a huge crisis. Perhaps the overseas countries like China, who buy up the treasury bills that underwrite America's debt, decide not to continue to do that. Of course, by doing that, it would change the rates on the existing treasuries they have. So they're incentivized to keep spending on the American debt. And you see, I've talked a lot on this channel about why does the U.S. protect the overseas countries and the sea lanes? And one of the big reasons is, even though the U.S. is not getting its oil via the Persian Gulf, all of its allies that pay for its debt, China, the Far East, Japan, they get their oil from there. So it's in our best interest to make sure the economies of other countries are performing as well. But yeah, that's a scary thing. I think that is a major issue. And it's not going to come to pass this year because the Biden administration has set up the Fed, has organized with the Fed, colluded with the Fed, the Federal Reserve in the United States, to make sure that the rates are going to be, I believe, reduced a little bit to ensure that money stays free and that there's no possibility of a recession this year or a financial crisis, as much as that can be done. I'm 28 and I've scheduled to die in May. Probably people should have access to euthanasia. I don't know. They're talking about even people who just feel depressed want to die. If you've ever been a person who's had a life-threatening disease, and then, you see people taking life for granted, like, you're in the hospital and then you go out and all the doctors and nurses are out there smoking cigarettes. Said people are just crazy. Life is so short. And, or in this case, if you see people saying, I'm depressed, take me out of life. They don't even have an actual physical thing wrong with them. It is a mental condition. And I know it can be horrible and serious and perhaps in some cases worse than the physical things. But I don't know, you do have a different perspective when if a person is sick with something that makes them in fear of their life, and other people just say, "Oh, I'm depressed, kill me." But it does happen. That's all part of the human condition. Here are the books. I sure wish my book were on the New York Times list, but for now, it is available in bookstores. Disillusioned by the promises of the modern world, young people make their way to Bangkok and then on to the furthest places they can find. There are still unknown places. And I just heard my book is now available at Kinokuniya branches at M Quarter, Central World, and Siam Paragon. I really wanted them to carry it, and it's in literature, which is cool, so this is another dream come true for me. Read it and let me know what you think, please. Thanks. And that's my book. It feeds into some of the ideas that we talk about here on the channel, trying to understand the context behind things while maybe not really being able to understand. The world is too big and too complex to understand. We can just get a taste of it. And it's also about people who become disenchanted with the world, disenchanted with the news, and wanting to go away and find out what life is really about. So that's the news for today. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get it going here, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.